Welcome back, guys. I'm on Wade's channel. Wade is a master grinder. We know where he started from. We know what he was saying about Jake.
Up in a verbal tit like it's receding on a daily basis, but the lack of mental ability to keep up in a verbal tit for tat is pretty easily seen. He just makes audible noises into a microphone while grabbing at his crotch. If a large majority of people think Ben's gonna win, that doesn't mean half think you're gonna win. That's not how majorities work, Jake. The public school system has failed him to this day.
He met Jake and he became cool people. My main problem with Wade is that he has never come out to tell us the truth, to say KSI is ducking. We have proof, we have documents, we have videos, we have articles that prove that KSI is ducking. In fact, KSI is ducking so much that he has a video of himself, KSI, ducking. Oh, sorry, not ducking, quacking like a duck.
All like that? Mental! Quack, quack, quack!
So, again, we've gone over this video many times.
All like that? Mental! Quack, 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 quack!
This is when he ducked Jake Paul to fight Swarms. Literally, right? So KSI has, Wade, as good as he is, very, very fantastic guy, very inspiring story, very inspiring individual, very inspiring creator. I've joined his streams, I've donated to his live streams on YouTube through super chat and stuff. He wants to be liked, not liked. How do I put it? He wants to be accepted. It's not. He doesn't come out forthright enough. Let's put it like this, because between Jake and KSI, you can't be establishing false equivalences and say, oh, they both don't want to fight. That's not true. Jake has been saying forever that he wants to fight. KSI says he wants to fight, but pretends or hides behind Alex Wasabi, or hides behind Swarms, or hides behind Pineda, hides behind weight, hides behind money. We've covered this. I don't want to go over this. So now, I'm talking about this because Wade is coming in to say that influencer boxing is dying. This is the beginning of the end. I have not watched this video whatsoever. He just uploaded it, as you can see. I haven't watched it. The lines are still there. But seeing this headline, seeing the title, seeing the thumbnail, and seeing what Wade is saying in the thumbnail so far, for me, I feel like part of it is his fault because he has a voice. He was with Misfits, he had a voice, and he refused to do what we would have done in his position in terms of, as fans, as people who have watched YouTube boxing from the beginning, we don't care about things like weight, we don't care about things like technical issues, we just want to fight. We don't care. KSI didn't care about the weight when he fought Logan. Why does he care about the weight now? Again, we've covered all this. KSI fought Pineda. Pineda fights at like 160. KSI fought him at 180 or something, or whatever the case may be. Pineda was a very skinny young person. Swamp had to lose so much weight. There was a weight discrepancy between KSI and Pineda, KSI and even Wasabi. So why is the weight discrepancy an issue? Why did Wade, when Wasabi pulled out of Misfits 001, Wade came out and said, no, Jake shouldn't fight KSI on short notice. You know, they need to have a press conference, they need to build all the media. And I said, one of the first videos I ever made on YouTube, or on this channel, let's say, was that the fight was already built in. The build-up, the videos, the promotion had already been done over the past 4 years. Between Jake and KSI, you had about maybe 200 million views of them hyping their fight, saying you're scared, laughing at each other. Jake, KSI laughing at Jake. KSI made 4 or 5 laughing at Jake videos. Go to my channel, you see all my coverage of KSI versus Jake. That's not what this video is about. What I'm trying to point out is that Wade deliberately sidestepped the accountability that we can place on KSI for ensuring that, 1, the Jake fight doesn't happen, and 2, influencer boxing dies as a result. Right? And when you're talking of influencer boxing right now, you can only talk of Aiden Ross. Brand risk. You can only speak about brand risk right now. Because Aiden has money and he's putting things together and he doesn't care. You don't hear of pullouts, you don't hear of all these technical issues, weight, money. Everything is just going smoothly, freely, cleanly. So influencer boxing is not dying. KSI just prefers to attend Usher concerts. That is what is happening. So I want to see if Wade finally can be as direct in criticizing KSI as he was when he started, when he was criticizing Jake, when he was calling Jake all sorts of names, insulting Jake's intelligence, insulting Jake's hairline, insulting Jake's looks, most of the time insulting Jake's intelligence, because there was a video, Jake was standing next to a Rubik's Cube. This guy, Wade, paused the video and said, oh yeah, there's a Rubik's Cube right there. Jake doesn't have the intelligence to solve a Rubik's Cube.
Their mind is working at a snail's pace at all times. You guys see this Rubik's Cube here? The odds of Jake actually understanding what a Rubik's Cube is and how to solve it are very slim. It's more likely that Jake would do what he's doing to what I'm assuming is a White Claw can at 8 a.m. in the morning and try to bite it in half thinking it's actually in stupor. So right here,
Wade was very, very direct, spoke like an influencer, spoke like a regular fan would speak in talking about this guy. But the reason, the minute he started having subscribers, started gaining some kind of notoriety, obviously you have to tone down a bit, but he lost that directness, all that smoke that he had for Jake. So now he's calming down. Someone who has a voice, who can speak for us. You know, we are not as big as Wade, but Wade has a voice. If Wade says something, Mams will react to it. KSI would react to it. So the fact that Wade refuses to be forthright and tell us that, yeah, KSI is talking, having looked at all the facts on this side, KSI side, having looked at all the facts on Jake's side, it is clear who is talking. It's not even in doubt anymore with the Dylan Dennis pullout. You said that you want to fight Dylan Dennis, you don't care. You play a charity match in Qatar, you play a charity match in Wembley, all of a sudden you're sick. And the person you're trying to fight and you're training so hard to beat is Dylan Dennis, who already lost to Logan, who Logan said, we want to destroy Dylan Dennis by beating him in the ring and beating him in court. And then you say, oh, I'll fight Dylan Dennis. He needs money for legal fees, so I'll give him money by fighting him. Like, how does that make sense? How does that, like, it completely invalidates the prime card. The prime card was to destroy Dylan Dennis forever. But you brought him back into the relevance. He's taking that relevance over to the GFL. The Dylan Dennis fight is cancelled as far as I'm concerned. And all of this is happening, and Wade hasn't said a thing. That is why I'm watching this video, to give Wade one final chance to be direct. If influencer boxing is dying, it's because KSI killed it. With his inactivity between 2019 and 2022, and then with his inactivity between 2023 till date, we're in April. KSI's last win was January 2023. KSI's last win was January 2023. His last fight was October 2023. So we're looking at 19 months. What is it? The point is that between that time, KSI tried to fight Slim and 80, pulled out for a quote-unquote injury, of which we have no proof till today. He tried to fight Wayne Bridge. He ducked Gibb, ducked Slim, and then he's... In fact, let's even visit the Gibb duck, because Gibb called him out point blank and says, look, you've been training, you've been warming up for 7 years.
Yeah, he's been warming up for 7 years, right?
You need a redemption. I'm right here. I've taken your belt. I'm killing your promotion. And KSI sits there and thinks, and says, oh, we're just friends. Oh, we're friends. I have not seen Gibb and KSI be friends since they were both training under Vidal. In fact, more accurately, since KSI said Gibb, Jake should fight Gibb, or Gibb should fight KSI. Look, if Jake beats Gibb, then he can fight me. So he threw Gibb to the lions of Jake, to be devoured by Jake. And Gibb almost lost his career because of KSI. And KSI doesn't even have the stones to fight him as the champion of his promotion, as the person who has killed his promotion. So Gibb maintains his authority, his status as the promotion killer. And he said this. He said, I will come to Misfits. I will beat Misfits' best fighter, who is Slim. I will beat Misfits' best fighter. He said that Slim is Misfits' best fighter in front of KSI. And KSI did nothing, because KSI is pussy. And pussy means, that's not a swear word. It means pusillanimous, just for context, lacking courage. So, KSI did nothing. He was pusillanimous on stage. And KSI defeated Slim And KSI, Misfits has cancelled essentially 2 events since then. And KSI cannot fight. KSI cannot give the zone some pay-per-view money. They've cancelled 2 pay-per-view shows in a row, or suspended, as they say, or postponed. So, as it stands, Misfits is finished. Gabe killed it, and KSI can do nothing about it. The only way Misfits can survive right now is for KSI to announce 3 fights. And I'm so sorry that this is turning into a KSI video, but we'll get to Wade and react to him live. I just have to say this because it's so important. This is 7 years of our lives, right? So, the only way for KSI to save his boxing career is to come out tomorrow and announce 3 fights. 1, I'm fighting Slim, right? He's fighting these 3 fights no matter what. I'm fighting Slim, let's call it May. I'm fighting Gib, let's call it September or August. That's 2, fight number 2. And 3, I'm fighting Jake in November, or let's call it December, Wembley Stadium. That's my final boss. So Slim, Gib, Jake. I will beat all of them, and it will be a wrap. And then Misfits will continue. That's all. That's all KSI has to do. He can sit down, dedicate this year to boxing. He can't pretend that he's making music. Sidemen videos shoot without KSI. So he cannot pretend that he's shooting videos for the Sidemen. And also, he cannot hide behind Prime, because everyone knows Logan is carrying Prime. Everyone knows. Logan is the only person who works in Prime. Speed does nothing for Prime. KSI does nothing for Prime. They're just there for the check. They are just there for the check. Speed went to China. It did not take 1 bottle of Prime with him. Not 1. So, that being said, let's get to Mr. Wade. Because as I said, Wade has been an integral part of this journey and also a small part of the problem. Because he ran cover for KSI when we needed him to put some honesty on him, to put some pressure on the promotion to ensure that the fight, the influencer boxing stays alive. And now that it's dying, he is there to dance on the grave. I don't like it, so let's see what Wade has to say.
All right, so we are back, and as you can see, the studio is undergoing some construction. More on that in a couple of days. But today, speaking of construction, speaking of taking things down and replacing them, and quite frankly, being a little up in the air with what happens next, I am here to talk to you about potentially the slow death of influencer boxing, and I don't...
Okay, so that's kind of the introduction. We're not going to watch the whole video through. Let's just see. I don't want to skip over anything important, so I guess maybe I'll cut out some of this stuff.
Mean that to sound disparaging in any way. I always at the end of videos tell you guys I don't have the answers, but I guess we'll find out. And that phrase has never rang more true for influencer boxing than it is right now. Because there's a lot up in the air when it comes to the future of crossover influencer boxing that I truly don't know. And we may very well be seeing potentially the beginning of the end. Or maybe not. There's still a lot up in the air, and maybe Misfits can pick themselves back up. But speaking of picks, before we get into the breakdown, let me say a big thank you to today's sponsor of the video, PrizePicks. That's right, guys. PrizePicks is the best place to win cash while you watch sports. All you have to do is create a influencer boxing, because as you can please said today is an odd day when it comes to influencer boxing, because as you guys have seen the total calamity that was the KSI Dylan Dennis fight. That fight was supposed to happen on March 29th. Didn't happen. Supposed to have been rescheduled for April. Then
can we just pause and look at each other in the eyes and say KSI pulled out of a fight against Dylan fucking Dennis? And Dylan's like, yeah, I'm ready, guys. And KSI pulled out to attend Usher. That's crazy.
Mike Perry went on Ariel Helwani's show and essentially said, yeah, they're not rescheduling that. They're trying to look to make an MMA match between...
They are not rescheduling KSI against Dylan Dennis. Remember, guys, I want you guys to remember, because the most important thing when talking about any KSI story is having a memory. Once you do that, you're
Dennis!
This is what you need to remember. Watch.
Still thinks he has a chance to fight me 6 months down the line. Dildo, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. Fuck yourself. You are a pointless stain on this earth. Fuck yourself. Fuck yourself. Get fucked. You twat. You dickhead. Everyone now knows what you are. Bitch made.
Look at the energy. Look at the energy.
You're a bitch, and you will never get this opportunity ever again. Dennis still.
That's the end of the video, guys. That is the end of the video. But let's see what Wade has to say.
Mike Perry and Dylan Dennis happened as the replacement for KSI Dylan Dennis. And yes, we all know now KSI was sick. That's why they canceled the event. And I'm saying the word canceled now, like I said it before, because I did not think there was a good chance that Misfits was going to be able to reschedule this. It just didn't seem likely based on the timeline of events that was about to come down the line. Number one, they had another event scheduled on April 12th. That's not happening on the day either. We'll get to that in a second. Dylan Dennis.
I think Gabe was right. I think Misfits is done. Because this fight too got postponed, whatever that means. He's finished, KSI. Like, Misfits is finished. It is finished.
This was supposed to have a fight in the middle of May, so how is that going to work? KSI has not looked, sounded, and acted like he wants to fight anytime soon, just based on the way this cancellation happened and the quiet kind of nature of how he's handled it since then, and obviously the lashing out at me for no reason. But the point is, none of it seemed right. And there are times in this combat sports game where when people get quiet, big things are about to happen. But when it comes to cancellations or need for explanation for why certain events have been postponed or canceled, people start getting quiet around that stuff. It usually means they don't have answers. Like either they're working on something or just things are not going to get figured out in a timeline in which they originally thought they were. And that's when you start to hit the panic button a little bit, because not only are we not getting the KSI fight rescheduled with Dylan Dennis, we also got KSI saying he couldn't comment on it.
Since you're active, are you allowed to speak on your fight being postponed in terms of a new date? As of right now, I can't speak on the matter. This means that the fight is dead. He's done for, this guy. He pretended to be a boxer. He got people invested, got the zone invested. Look, my video, I made a video on this, and my videos are important. They don't have as many views as they should, but my videos are important. I want to show you something. Just give me a second. It's a very important video. The point of the video was, let's see if I can get it. Actually, the video did serious numbers, but it was a bit too long, but we had to cover everything. This was the video.
All of this has always depended.
Right? And we talked about how, you see this here? I made this point. KSI is stalling for the DAZN 5-year deal. My theory was that KSI sold DAZN a dream. And he said, look, DAZN, yes, we have influencer boxing. I'm KSI, I can pull numbers from the UK. I will fight Jake Paul. He can pull numbers from the US. If we get this fight done together, we will have some money, but we need to build up to it. That's why KSI refused to fight Jake in August 2022. Because if he fights Jake then, there's no DAZN deal for 5 years. DAZN already got what they want. Right? But if you promise DAZN something and KSI fights a few bums here and there, right? He fought Tommy Fury, allegedly got 1.3 million pay-per-views, even though it was Dylan Dennis that sold the 1.3 million pay-per-views. No problem. That's fine. But now that Dylan is gone, KSI has nothing to fall back on. Also, Misfits did not create stars that are competent enough to stay in and perform. They tried. They tried to get HS TikTok HS, Harrison Smith, whatever his name is, that guy. They spent about 3 months trying to hype him to say that, yeah, this guy is the guy, this guy is the deal. And then it transpires that the guy is just a waste man, like a literal waste man, that guy. So now they have nothing, and KSI must come back to box in order to fulfill the pay-per-view quota for the year. Because subscriptions are definitely going down. The young people who are subscribing to DAZN to watch KSI fight live are not going to subscribe because KSI is not fighting. So this is mostly about business. This is not about anyone's health. This is not about anyone's physical capabilities in the boxing ring. This is about business for DAZN. Ask, what was it, Danny Aarons? He'll give you more details on that.
In fucking London or wherever the fuck it was and knock you the fuck out. You know yes, they will allow it. What the fuck do you mean? People get approved all the time on 3 weeks notice. They approved Tyron Woodley on 9 days notice. Your excuses, honestly bro, like from the bottom of my heart, and even your fans see it bro, even your fans see it that you're just ducking and making up so many excuses all the fucking time, and it's always a new lie, it's always this, it's always that. I don't give a fuck what size of the ring. I don't give a fuck about any of that shit. Bro, I'm walking out with the ski mask, taking all the fucking earnings of this fucking thing because you said we would fight winner takes all. I'm walking in with a ski mask, bank robbery, knocking your bitch ass out in 2 rounds, and I'm doing a front flip off of your body while it's on the canvas. And you can fucking guarantee that.
KSI had no smoke for this. He had no smoke. So what are we saying, bro?
Which I don't exactly know what that means, but we did get an explanation from Mams Taylor that I'll read in a second. But Dylan Dennis, again, I don't know if this is a trusted source, but Dylan came out and said, sorry guys, KSI couldn't recover from the common cold for all of April to reschedule the fight. Deji, and Mike Perry declined to fight to save the show, plus many others. It is what it is. We move on. Can I just say, why in the blue hell would Deji fight Dylan Dennis? I love Dej. You guys know this, but have we seen him lately? The big boy. Thickety. And then the Mike Perry thing, I thought Mike Perry said he was going to fight Dylan, or he had accepted it, and then nothing really came of it. I think probably what happened was Mike Perry wasn't supposed to make public that he was offered to fight Dylan Dennis because it probably wasn't set up with the distribution company who was DAZN to get the whole thing done. It was a complete train wreck. That's the main thing you could say about Misfits Unfinished.
Yeah, train wreck is a very good word. I like train wreck. It's the correct word. There's no better word than train wreck to describe what we're witnessing before our eyes. That's for certain.
Business is the business never got finished. It just fell off a cliff there. And I'm making jokes, but it is very sad. It's unfortunate because what you don't want as an influencer boxing fan, if that is you guys out there, someone that worked in this scene that
He's already speaking about it in past tense. Oh my God, Wade already jumped ship. Wade has jumped ship. Oh my God. Someone that worked in the scene. Wade ran, bro. He ran, hiding like his hand.
And I think helped the scene grow a little bit as much as I could.
Yeah. He definitely put in work. I mean, Wade is he was such a I'm saying was too. He was such a wonderful window through which to look at this fight that we've had. He carried most of the promotion on his back by himself. Nobody else did what Wade did. That's why no matter how much I disagree with him on other things, his work ethic is inspiring to even me. Wade is an inspiration to me. He's the goat of this. That's for certain. I don't believe in glazing because I'm a grown man. I know how to give props where it's due. So I know glazing is for post Gen Z, Gen Alpha, whatever. But yeah, this man is the goat of coverage of this. Yes, he's the best. Nobody's better than Wade at this for certain.
It's sad to see a number of shows not go well for them and the public kind of attack and come after them for whether it's ineptitude or...
I like that word. You see, this is why... this is exactly my point. This is the point I was trying to get to when we started this video. I apologize for the tangents, but that's kind of what they are. The tangents are the show. But this is the word. Ineptitude. Right? It's the perfect word. It's difficult to explain, so let's have Google explain it. Let's have Google explain it to everyone. I don't believe in Merriam-Webster. Let's do Cambridge. I prefer Oxford, but All right. So let's go Oxford. A lack of skill. Cambridge, the fact of not being skilled or effective. That is ineptitude. Now, the problem is that Wade has used one word to describe Misfits for the past, let's call it 18 months, right? They are not skilled in finding an opponent for KSI to come back. They are not skilled in giving KSI guidelines. Don't antagonize Wayne Bridge by bringing up his affair from 15 years ago. Don't do that. Or at least let him sign the deal and come to fight. Don't just open your mouth and start disrespecting a grown man in front of his family. How about that? Or don't go after old MMA fighters, and also don't tell everyone you went after grown MMA fighters, retired. Or don't pull out of fighting Slim and 80. Or if you pull out of fighting Slim and 80, you reschedule Slim and 80. Or you give the fans what they want and have a fight with Gabe, who has called you out publicly to your face. So the fact that KSI did none of these things is what is called ineptitude. My problem with Wade is that he doesn't say it as it is. He says whether it's ineptitude or this. He's always equivocal. Let me show you what equivocal means. Equivocal means you're speaking from both sides of the mouth, right? Exactly. So not having one clear or definite meaning or intention. When something is able to be understood in more than one way. ambiguous, but I prefer the term equivocal. Wade has always been equivocal. And KSI was right when he said Wade plays both sides. Because when he's talking, you don't see exactly what he's trying to say. He no, he doesn't what he's trying to say. Or when he's speaking, he tries to stay on both sides. He's trying to say, oh, whether it's this or it's this, well, I'm not sure, but these are the two things that are happening at once. What is your opinion, Mr. Wade? Can you say, honestly, Mr. Wade, that Misfits has been inept in their handling of KSI's boxing so-called career over the past 20 months? Can you say that? Wade can't say that because obviously he wants the opportunity. He doesn't want to say too much that will, get him blackballed from Misfits. I understand the position, but as somebody who is the voice of the people, you have how many? 400,000 subscribers, me included. You are the voice of we who don't have a voice. You are the person who can come out and say X, and minimum 400,000 people will agree with you and say yes, X is correct. But you have Wade saying, oh, whether it's ineptitude or whether it's this. Let's hear him again.
I could. It's sad to see a number of shows not go well for them and the public kind of attack and come after them for whether it's ineptitude or a lack of events or a lack of explanation, just things.
So, listen to that. Whether it's ineptitude or a lack of consistency or a lack of, what was the last thing he said?
Whether it's ineptitude or a lack of events or a lack of explanation, just things.
So, Wade is saying, Wade just said three things that are correct and true, but because he uses the word whether, it's equivocal. He's not really saying it, even though he mentioned those three things. The first thing he said was ineptitude. 2, he says a lack of events, which means they are inconsistent. 3, he says they are not forthright. That is, they are not transparent. So there's a lack of skill, there's a lack of consistency, and there's a lack of transparency. So you see what the problem is. Wade qualifies all these things, which are true, by the way. Wade says that there's a lack of consistency, there's a lack of transparency, and there is an abject ineptitude on the part of Misfits that has led to where we are today. And instead of him to be forthright and say, yes, instead of him to come out and say, yes, this is what the problem is with Misfits, he qualifies this by saying whether. Listen.
Number of shows not go well for them and the public kind of attack and come after them for whether it's ineptitude or a lack of events or a lack of explanation, just things that keep going wrong.
Do you see that? Things that keep going wrong, but you've mentioned them. Ineptitude, a lack of transparency, and a lack of consistency. If you came out forthrightly and said, Misfits is inept, they lack transparency, and they are inconsistent, that is you telling the truth. But Wade prefers to say, oh, whether it's this, the fans are coming after them, oh, the fans think, the fans are attacking. What do you think, Mr. Wade? What do you think? You are also a fan. You came from us. We gathered around you because of your skill of saying what you see, your ability to tell the truth, when you can. And we elevated you to this position. We got you on Misfits. We supported you. We pushed you through. You went to Kingpin. You had fun on Kingpin. You're having fun on MVP. You're fighting on Misfits. You're winning. You're succeeding. But the problem is you don't have that courage to say that yes, Misfits is inconsistent. Misfits is inept. Misfits is not transparent. That's the problem with Wade. That is the only problem I have with him. And the funny thing is, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, KSI called this out. He plays both sides, he said. That is Wade's problem. He is equivocal. You are not really certain what he's saying. I'll play one more time and then we'll move on.
And the public kind of attack and come after them for was not.
Look at that word again. Kind of. Listen.
Not go well for them and the public kind of attack.
You see that? That's how Wade talks. He's like, oh, they kind of attack you. How can you kind of attack somebody? What the fuck does that mean? Wade likes to be equivocal. He doesn't like being direct.
Pack and come after them for whether it's ineptitude or a lack of events or a lack of explanation, just things.
See that? He says the fans kind of attack Misfits for ineptitude, lack of transparency. What do you think, Mr. Wade? That's all I have to say on that. Let's move on.
That keep going wrong for Misfits, who is, let's be honest, if we're talking influencer boxing, they are the #1 company for it. It's not even close.
Finally, a forthright statement, but you see, this forthright statement doesn't get him in trouble with Mams. or something. You see how it works?
Dominate the scene. So I don't relish in telling you guys this. Hell, a lot of my channel is based around the crossover boxing.
True. Facts. Yep. Yes. Yes. Those, those are facts for certain. Yep. Yep. That is true.
Scene. And it will, to some degree, continue to do that, but it's just an unfortunate situation for all. And one thing I will say, in the complete shitstorm that was the KSI pullout, the event now being essentially canceled, and now, on top of that, we have a postponement of the event planned after the KSI event. This is Misfits Boxing posting today due to scheduling issues. Misfits Boxing Blinders and Brawls. Okay, this is what they're doing now. Instead of like Misfits 21, it's Misfits like Rage or Unfinished Business or Blinders and Brawls. I don't even know. Is that supposed to mean like tunnel vision? I like the concept. It's pretty cool. It will now take place on Friday, May 16th. The event will still take place at the Valiant Live, and I think people are saying this is Derby, the way they say it in the UK, Derby. But Derby is how I would say it. Purchase tickets will remain valid for the new date, but any ticket holders wanting a refund, please contact your point of purchase. So again,
refunds, reschedules. And my main problem with how they've handled this cancellation and the postponement is nobody has even mentioned anything about the fighters. Fox the G is crying on Twitter. Many of the fighters, Julie Poker is crying on Twitter. These fighters have dedicated a lot of money, a lot of expenses to having this fight, and KSI does not give 2/3 of a shit. Compare Jake, what's his fucking face? Tommy Fury pulls out in 2021 December. Jake begs Tyron Woodley, please come and fight. Let's save the undercard. Let's make sure these guys get paid. And Woodley shows up, and Jake's career picks up from there. So, for God's sake, you can make the sacrifice, or you can do something to ensure that people get to fight on that date. You can. There are things you can do, KSI. But he chooses not to. He chooses to go to watch Usher. Usher, of all people. Right days.
yeah, it's just not a good thing for Misfits to postpone two events back to back. It shows a little bit of scrambling. I think a lot of the reason for that is pretty simple. Misfits goes as KSI does. And really, influencer boxing, specifically the influencer side, that crossover side goes as KSI does. And when you lose a massive star like KSI as a main event for a fight on his own, then you essentially lose everything that comes.
Yeah, but then your CEO / alter ego is kind of a pussy. We established that already. We established that he's a pussy. We know that he is a pussy because instead of him to fight Jake, he says, fight this guy first.
With that, and that means money that KSI generates, not only for Misfits, but for DAZN. That means money allocated from DAZN to Misfits to have a guy like KSI on the card. Let's think about budgets that a guy like Mams Taylor is going to have to work with to bring some of the other influencer boxing names that you guys want to see, like Assault Poppy, or even on this card, a Chase Demore, Roman Fury. Those people.
Jeez, Salt Poppy. And Salt Poppy, his name is almost gone from the scene, right? You had the opportunity to make this guy a star. And I don't know how the relationship died, but clearly the relationship between Salt Poppy and Misfits is dead. And that guy is a star. You can make him a global superstar if you do it correctly. You can build things around him so that when KSI is gone, you can have Salt Poppy, you can have Chase Demore. You can even get Bryce Hall in. You can do that if you want to. But they didn't. They just thought, KSI will be fine. He's 33. There's no problem. You have the whole Philippines. For God's sake, Salt Poppy met Manny Pacquiao. Like, he went and trained with Manny Pacquiao. And you couldn't put your weight behind that to say, wow, Manny Pacquiao, maybe he can come and have an exhibition or something.
People need to get paid, but the budget relies on one name, three letters, KSI. When he does get pulled off the card, I'm sure there's some sort of agreement between Misfits and DAZN about pay-per-view exclusivity and how much they're willing to spend based on the fact that KSI is going to be there. If he's not going to be there, budget goes down, pay-per-view's wiped out, and that destroys an entire event. And I'm not even exactly sure why they're postponing the April 12th card. I assume it's because of some...
Actually, that's a lot of insight from Wade on that. That's true. The ability to pay the fighters depends on the minimum guarantee that KSI would bring as a result of fighting on pay-per-view. So it explains why you can't have a replacement for KSI, because if KSI, for example, is guaranteed a 300,000 pay-per-view, and let's say the pay-per-view is $10, so that means you have a minimum of 3 million, which you can use to pay the fighters on the card. Let's call that 1.5 million. You 50% goes to the fighters, and then you have your profits. Then you have things from the venue and stuff like that. So that is fantastic insight from Wade there. Very, very well put. Not many people will get it, but that's exactly what it is. Fantastic work from Wade.
Fallout from the KSI card. Again, think about revenues that were supposed to have been made from that card. Those revenues potentially used to fund a card like this Blinders and Brawls card they were going to do, essentially one of their non-pay-per-view ones. They don't have that money generated, then it's probably something where they're going to have to shuffle some things around on that card, potentially some other stuff as well. And there's
yeah, these guys are really pulling their own legs. You know, I already exposed this. We called this a long time ago. This 2023, we're in 2025. It's I mean, they're just in their third year of this 5-year deal. In their third year, this deal is going to get cancelled, bro. Just what? They have nothing.
Potentially other stuff that I just genuinely don't know. I don't work over at the company. All I'm saying is it's a mess when KSI isn't fighting, or when, you know, something like a pullout happens and it is the only person that you really need on a card, KSI. That can destroy not only that event, but it can destroy multiple events. And it just takes a little bit for public interest to wane. And since the Prime card, there has been that, what's next for this?
That is so true. And everyone got tired of KSI pussyfooting. For fuck's sake, KSI ran away from his channel for 3 months. He ran away from the ring, or from trying to fight for 15 months. And he says, oh, I'm just going to take a break this year. I'm going to go hard. And then he's already had 2 pullouts this year. He's fucked, basically, as a boxer. And look at how he ran back to his YouTube. That's where he belongs. He is not caught up for this game. Jake sacrificed his YouTube channel, sacrificed his YouTube stardom for the credibility in boxing, for the project of building women's boxing, right? So, I mean, his MVP roster is like 80% women. He has that to hang his hat on. You know, this is all Jake. This is ESPN. ESPN is covering Jake Paul's card. Like, that's the level. So KSI is not even qualified to speak about Jake. He's not. He is not qualified to speak about Jake at all.
Scene type of feel. Hell, I even fought on the January card, and it felt like people were looking for that next big thing to hold on to, whether it was Gib or me or something else.
Exactly. That is exactly right. Because trust me, Wade Plemons can be a pay-per-view. If you had Wade versus HS TikToky, it will sell pay-per-views without a doubt. HS is a big guy in terms of clout. Wade is a big guy in terms of the hardcore boxing audience. Why hasn't HS featured in Misfits at all? He's just a thug and a criminal who they think is some kind of star. If he and Wade fight, they can do at least 200K. At least 200K they can do it.
Will never fill the void of a KSI or a Logan Paul or anybody else that they can get on that Prime card. And I think this is probably the start of the tipping point for influencer box. This is the point where people are going, what are we still doing? Is KSI even going to fight? And then the bigger question, should he even fight anymore? Like, that's the thing that I've asked in the last couple of videos, and with this whole him not rescheduling the Dylan Dennis fight, I know there's
very, very good question. Should he fight? KSI has told more tales than he has fought in the last 24 months. He even stole Wade's narrative about, oh yeah, he has all these other interests like Sidemen, Prime, and all that stuff. And filming with the Sidemen is just sitting down and telling people to do stupid shit, or playing hide and seek with your mates, or stuff like this. So Sidemen doesn't really count, and we all know KSI does nothing for Prime. We've established that. So KSI actually doesn't do that much. And to come out and try to say, yeah, you want to fight Jake Paul, who is 11-1, you are 1-1. Come on, bro. Like, you can't. I said it already. KSI mentions names. He uses names to build his own profile. I'll show you.
I don't give a fuck.
He laughed about Jake, calling out Canelo and saying he can fight all these people. But KSI calls out Beterbiev. He did do that. Look, he says, I believe I can give Bivol and Beterbiev a good fight. He says that. How's that real?
Could fight anyone and give it a good fucking go. Yeah, whether it's Canelo, whether or it's Bivol,
He stuttered. He stuttered to say Bivol.
whether it's Beterbiev. Like,
What? That's KSI. That's what KSI is. Someone who can't even handle a cold is talking about fighting Dimitri Bivol. Stop it. Stop it.
There's the rumor out there of KSI fighting Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And even I look at that and go, okay, yeah, this would be a freaking huge challenge for him. But again, you ask the question, why? What is the point? Is the point to draw money and numbers? Because KSI can do that with a mailbox. And quite frankly, for public attention, Julio Cesar Chavez might as well be a post office box. But it's a dangerous fight if he's looking for a test, if he's still trying to chase that Jake Paul fight, which I guess...
Chase forever. He's going to be on that chase until he fucking dies. He will never fight Jake, ever. Because the point has always been to use Jake's name. It was never to fight him. KSI calls out Jake for the name value only. He has no intention of fighting Jake. We've established that many times.
If this rumor is true, then that's what it is. And there was that thing that Turki Al-Sheikh said when him and KSI met about getting KSI a real fight, potentially on the Alcatraz card.
Oh, you're getting KSI a real fight? Okay. Let's say it's Conor McGregor. Let's say it's JC Chavez. Jake has fought Golden Glove champions, Ryan Borden, Golden Glove champion, Andre August. Those are real fights. Fighters with positive records. What are we saying?
That they're trying to do later in the summer. If this is what he meant, then okay, let's run it. You know, I'm sure there'll be a lot of hype around it just because, again, KSI is fighting. And because Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., while underwhelming as a professional, not even necessarily world-level fighter, would still be a massive test for KSI. I'd be down to watch it. I just don't know if the people that are interested in KSI fighting necessarily care who it is, more so than they care about KSI just committing to doing it. And that's where I have the issue, if he is committed to this. I don't know that he is, and if he isn't...
He's not, but that's kind of the point. He's never been. That's why he took 3 years off. But somebody came to him and said, okay, guys, why don't we do a boxing promotion? That's Mams. Why don't we do a boxing promotion where, you know, just come fight a few times, we'll get a deal with the zone will pay us, and, you know, we get all the influencers who are interested in fighting, and then let them come in and fight a bit, and then we'll just be making money from there. But that doesn't work, because boxing takes actual fucking work. I've been to a gym. I've done a month at a gym training for boxing, and it is difficult. For someone who, like, I have a full-time job, and influencing social media is a full-time job for these people, and taking that time out to go to the gym to get destroyed in training, cardio, sparring, and you do that for 6 weeks, 8 weeks out of your time, you come home exhausted, you can barely get up to even have a fucking shower. I mean, you can barely even drive home when you're done from the gym. And then you want someone to do that for 8 weeks and then get paid, what, 50K or 100K? The money is just not there with Misfits. If you're offering people $1 million, they will fucking do it. But you're offering people like Sam Hyde. Sam Hyde says, yeah, I did it for the memes. The money I got paid to do this wasn't sufficient. Like, I just did it just for the sake of the meme. So they don't even have money to give people. That's why boxing, as they say, boxing is dying. Turki Al-Sheikh is saving boxing, but he's losing a lot of money. He has to spend money. And Misfits doesn't have that money. The zone clearly doesn't have that money. They need people like KSI to come and spend. And KSI is already begging Jake Paul to go on Netflix. Like, what?
I don't think he should fight again, because this thing is going to continuously happen. Whether it's a pull out of a fight, or like I told you guys in a couple videos previously, him not being prepared for a fight, or just something not happening the right way. Unless you're fully in, it won't happen. And I'm going to be honest, I just don't know if KSI really gives a shit anymore about boxing. That's just me, personally. I don't think he really gives a fuck. I don't know. Maybe that's just me reading too much into things, but it just seems like when these things cascade the way they do, you start to fall out of love with the process, because the process has no finish, right? No one loves training camp. Everybody loves fight night. But if you're going through training camps, not even getting to fight night over and over, where does the passion keep coming from if there's no payoff, if there's no result? I don't know that KSI is super into doing this when he has everything else flourishing, Sidemen, Prime, and whatever else is going on. But one guy I will say has stepped up.
So there's Wade, again, repeating excuses for KSI. Repeating excuses. Only Netflix has the money. Who are you going to fight now, buddy? Go remind Netflix I've been ready to fight you. It's like, come on, bro. How are you ready to fight KSI? So how are you ready to fight Jake if you so-called KO Dylan Dennis? Go remind Netflix. It's like, so you just want to sneak onto Netflix? What the fuck are you? Do you have 50 fights? No, you don't. You have 2 fights, 2 professional fights, KSI.
And deserves a lot of respect for what he's been trying to do. Even I'll put myself in this as gone after him undeservedly in this influencer scene as Mams Taylor. And I know this from, you know, some behind the scenes stuff that I've spoken to people about. He has really tried to do everything he could, not only to make the KSI versus Dennis fight, you know, happen or get fighters to replace KSI and just try to make something out of nothing, chicken soup out of chicken shit, as the old saying goes, but it just didn't work.
Yeah, I've never heard that saying in my life. That must be some southern Tennessee shit. I've never heard chicken shit out of chicken soup. What was that? Never heard of that in my life. But carry on, Wade. I guess it's it's sufficient.
Out. I know he works his ass off to try to please everybody in this scene, and it's just the reality of combat sports is sometimes it's not going to happen. It's just a matter of the people you're working with and the talent and everything else that I hope they can get figured out. But he put out a message today and essentially told the people that it's been a hassle the last couple of weeks.
Let's see what he says. A series of unfortunate events. What is this, Mr. Grinch or freaking Dr. Seuss? What's that? Beyond our control, trying to replace the main event and even trying to do a non-pay-per-view to keep the show on. Nope. Exhausted all of us, left no stone unturned. Sorry, we're not able to say anything until now, but refunds will of course be available for Manchester next week. Oof, that's a lot of money lost, bro. To the fans, we're sorry, it's been a rocky start to 25. Determined and confident that we'll more than make it up with this year's plans. Doubt. To the fighters and teams, I know what you guys go through and the disappointment of moving dates. I'm sorry, you know it's out of our hands. Where is their money? Give them their money. The feeling of letting people down and not being able to fix it immediately sucks and weighed heavily on me. I'm sorry. Oh, Mr. Cowboy. Mr. Cowboy. That is not sufficient.
Weeks. Not a great start to 2025. That he does believe that Misfits is still in its infancy, and I agree with him. They do have some bright points outside of KSI with the Misfits Pro and other people like
Misfits Pro. Who is there? Stop. Don't talk like this. What the fuck is Misfits Pro? Chris Avila? Is that, what's his name? Idris Virgo? There is nothing. Misfits has nothing. Misfits has nothing. Those people they signed, it's like, who are they? Have they fought? Who did they fight? We don't care. Misfits only exist because of KSI. We don't know, or nor do we care who these other people are. Please, don't pretend like that's a thing. Misfits Pro. What? Okay. What, when did that happen? No one fucking cares, bro.
Amir Cashman and Jahan Ingram and some of the talent they're...
Okay. Who are they? Who are these people? Don't just drop names.
It's Pro and other people like Amir Cashman and Jahan Ingram and some of the...
Let me show you something. Watch this.
With the Misfits Pro and other people like Amir Cashman and Jahan...
Did you see that? Did you see the skip? The skip is there. That skip we just saw was because Wade forgot who the other guy was. Wade did not remember the other guy's name, so when he remembered, he cut it to the time he mentioned the guy's name. That's because that guy is a fucking nobody. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Wade is someone who likes to talk about people cutting stuff from face-offs. Yeah, right now, Wade faced off with the camera and could not mention 2 names consecutively on Misfits Pro. He couldn't do that because those guys are nobodies. We don't care who they are. And he's cutting because he forgot who the guy was. Come on, bro.
Ingram and some of the talent they're signing, there's some light as to what they can do.
Let's watch it one more time, just for the record. Let's watch it one more time. Watch this.
Some bright points outside of KSI with the Misfits Pro and other people like Amir Cashman and Jahan Ingram.
Yeah, he had to edit out the parts where he forgot the other guy's name.
And some of the talent they're signing, there's some light as to what they can do, especially with the Sauerland brothers on board in the pro boxing scene, how they can make all that work. There's just a lot on the other side that most boxing promoters don't deal with. People that are influencers that already have money and influence and fame that don't necessarily have to box, that maybe commit to boxing and then don't, or say they want to do something and then don't. So matchmaking becomes that much more hard, and event planning and all of that. But essentially, he offered an apology and, again, major respect, he offered a refund for the Misfits unfinished.
I don't think anyone cares about the refund. The refund means that the zone loses money, so it's irrelevant, isn't it? Isn't it immediately irrelevant?
I said there is one massive issue that can't happen under any circumstance. And that's where I want to talk about the X's and O's of this fight. What is the massive issue with this fight? Well, the biggest one is that Dylan Dana, and you can call me an optimist, you've not been able to say anything until now, but refunds will, of course, be available for Manchester next week. So that, I think, is a sigh of relief for people that did pay for the KSI Dylan Dennis event, because there was just no word on what was going to happen to their money that they paid for the event. It's not happening. What are we going to do? Again, Mams is doing his job and trying to get people the best case scenario
My eyes are rolling at this stage. Come on, like, who gives a shit? I just want to hear if he says something more interesting.
Possible here. Again, it's no one's fault. I just want to give Mams credit because...
Did you hear that? Did you hear that, guys? It says it's no one's fault. How is that real? How is that real? How is it real that something happens and it's no one's fault? This is what I mean by his equivocality. you talked about ineptitude, a lack of transparency, and a lack of consistency. And in the same video where you say it's no one's fault, you you elucidate very eloquently the fact that Misfits has failed to produce stars who can step in if KSI is otherwise engaged, let's call it. And they failed to do that. They failed to get HST Kentucky a full camp so he can actually fight a thing. They failed to do these things. They failed to put on events on a consistent basis. They failed to properly vet their influencers. They're bringing on pedophiles like Uncle Pizza and absolute random nobodies just to fill up their quota for the number of fights they have to put on in a calendar year. And in all this, they could not find a single YouTube star to take the place of KSI. They baby Deji, give him easy opponents just for an easy fight. It's of you to find a way to get somebody on board, get Gabe on board, get Slim on board, Dean the Great, get these guys on and make sure that, I mean, Dean, what happened to Dean? Why don't you make amends with Dean? Dean is by himself a star, you know. Get Dean to fight at some point. You can build a pay-per-view behind Dean. There's no doubt about this. But they're inept, like Wade said, but he doesn't want to say it.
I know the guy works fucking hard and he's been trying to give you guys the best shows he can. So that brings us to where we are in influencer boxing. I truly just, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what happens next. And it truly does all rely on KSI. Because as much as Misfits is trying to build stars, whether it's Salt Poppy, whether it's Slim, I don't even know if he's there anymore, or
he's not.
Gabe, or
he's not.
Even me, myself,
even Salt Poppy is not.
And
Wade is, if Wade comes back on Misfits, it has to be to fight Tiki Toki. But Tiki Toki is not even a real person. He is a fugitive, a criminal, allegedly, and he cannot sit down and train for 6 weeks for a boxing match. How can that person be a star?
Just none of us equal him as far as the influence, as far as the fandom, as far as the ability to sell tickets and run the business. So it really
KSI cannot sell. He proved that with Joe Fournier. He didn't sell Joe Fournier. And he came out and told us that there was no need for him to sell Joe Fournier because no matter whom he fights, people will always click to watch. That's what he said. He said that with his own mouth. So he could fight a tomato can and people will tune in to watch. Therefore, if you, KSI fans, he's calling you stupid. If it's you, stupid KSI fans, will tune in to watch a tomato can versus KSI fight, it means, therefore, that he doesn't need to promote. Did he promote Tommy Fury, the fight? Did he? No. He even admitted that Dylan Dan is going after Logan was free promo for the fight. He didn't need to sell. He pretty much said that I don't need to sell. It's already being sold. And he brags about the 1.3 million pay-per-view sales that he did not contribute anything to. Doing one small live stream of 30 minutes with Aiden, okay, that helps a bit, but you can't even call 50,000 buys on that. You can't. But Dylan got the mainstream media on his side and got worldwide interest in that fight. So stop it. KSI can't sell shit. He can't. The last fight he sold was Logan.
really just depends on how badly KSI wants to fight. And speaking of the business, that also goes for the Misfits and DAZN relationship. Listen, I don't know anything more than anybody else, but I have to assume if KSI is not fighting, what happens to that 5-year deal that Misfits?
Wade is talking about a 5-year deal. This is the first time Wade is mentioning a 5-year deal. I talked about the 5-year deal last, 2 weeks now? Yeah. I talked about the 5-year deal 2 weeks ago. Yeah. The student has become the master, I guess.
Misfits and DAZN had, because you have to think there was some level of guarantees of KSI pay-per-views, of generation of money.
Did you hear that? KSI, so Wade is finally saying something that I already saw and I already understood. Finally, in big April 2025, but I've been saying this for a very long time. There are minimum guarantees. It's 5 years, so KSI has to be around for those 5 years. And he'll be, 36 when it's done? Ha!
Money to fund these other smaller cards, all that stuff, if he's not fighting, goes away. And you'd think that has to affect the relationship between those two. But maybe KSI is just taking a little break, and then, again, whatever he was talking about with Turkey Shake happens in the summer.
Little break. Like another break? Okay.
Maybe you get him back in June, July. I assume that...
Wait, look at this. KSI's eye is lazy. He has a lazy eye, huge forehead, look. Interesting.
That's when he would be available anyway, with all the stuff going on in the next month or 2 months with him. And not only Misfits, but Turkey Al Sheikh and
Fatal Fury
and the Ring magazine and all that stuff. But the reality is there is no other solution in influencer boxing other than KSI has to fight. If he doesn't fight, and they haven't created a new lane for generation of pay-per-view or just money to fund the company, to fund influencer boxing, to build the relationship between them and the broadcaster, is the only place I'll kind of push back on Mams a little bit here. I don't know that they can last a decade long, like he says in this tweet where he says Misfits is still in its infancy. We're 2.5 years into a decades-long plan.
Decades long. Fuck off. This deal with the zone is not going past this 5 years, if it reaches the 5 years. Trust me. If you're hiding behind KSI, who is already talking about, oh, I have Britain's Got Talent, I have Prime, I have Sidemen, I don't need to fight anybody, I can fight anybody I want. You're not going decades long, bro. And you can't hide behind HS TikToker because he is a criminal. Wade is not going to fight too many people. Saul Papi is already retired from boxing. You already severed your relationship with Dean the Great. You already severed your relationship with Slim. Gabe already destroyed your promotion. There is no decades long plan. Misfits is done.
I don't know how long that plan goes for if KSI is not available. Or they can't get matchups like they almost had with Tommy Fury and Darren Till. That could be a potential sustainable model for the influencer crossover.
So, I know we mentioned this already, and I think it's important to mention it again. Didn't Mams and KSI confirm that KSI would fight the winner of Till versus Fury? He confirmed that, did he not? And neither fight occurred. So if we're talking about cancellations, Misfits right now, this year, you can count 5. It's easy to count 5 cancellations. Just to be fair, let's just take it back to last year. After KSI's loss to Tommy Fury, you have a fight with AT cancelled, 1. Fight with Slim cancelled, 2. Fight with Gabe cancelled, 3. Fight with Bridge cancelled, 4. In fact, let's add the 4 retired MMA fighters. That makes it 8. Fight with Dylan Dan is cancelled, 9. Fight between Fury and Till, that's 10. Fight between the winner of Till versus AT, that's 11. Even the rematch, let's call it 12. Let's be honest. Let's call it 12 because, for God's sake, the idea was that Fury was supposed to beat Till and KSI would fight Fury for the rematch and run away from fighting Jake since he already beat Fury in the rematch. That was the plan. That was the plan. But you have a 5-year deal. None of those fights happened. Those 11 fights did not happen. 11 fights. There were 11 potential actual fights that could have happened, and none of them occurred. 11 big fights. Nah, I will. If I'm a betting man, the zone deal would not go past 2026. I'm calling it now. I'm saying it on record today, in April 2025. The zone deal will not go past 2026. Trust me.
For boxing, if you can bring people into Misfits that are not KSI but have the influence of a big name either in the boxing scene or in the MMA scene that come and have these massive events,
nobody's going to Misfits. For fuck's sake, everybody already sees the lack of professionalism. Darren Till is already crying about it. He already says, Darren Till already says, look, I've been trying to get a fight for how many months? All these people are pulling out against me. So a real fighter, Darren Till, can't get a fight unless it's against a freaking stripper. So Darren Till's last fight is against a stripper on Misfits. And you're telling me that people will be rushing to join your promotion? You're telling me that Nate Diaz, who literally has no job, Nate Diaz is unemployed, and he still rejects you, and you think you have a promotion? You have Cowboy Cerrone rejecting you. Cowboy Cerrone has no job, and he prefers to fight bare knuckle than to fight on your promotion. Trust me, bro. Trust me. Trust me, bro. You don't have a promotion. All these UFC fighters who reject you are a sign that your promotion is not real. That's the sign. They're not scared of KSI. They are just not interested in fighting on a fake promotion. And that is the reputation that Misfits has. Why? Because Mams insists on putting together tag team battle royale boxing. That is clown show. That is clown world right there. That's 1. 2, don't have any protection for fighters who just pull out randomly. Like you saw, Darren Till is already crying that he signed on to fight 2-3 times and he can't get a fight because people are free to just run away because it's not a real promotion. In a real promotion, you will fight. You only get serious people who actually want to fight. So Wade is 10,000% wrong, 180 degrees wrong in saying that, yeah, they can get all these fighters to come on. One, they've admitted that they don't even have a fucking budget, and the budget depends on the big people, the big influencers that want to fight. But we already established that real big fighters will not want to come on Misfits. All they do is drop names. Remember, you guys need to use your memories to understand that Misfits is a sham. Do you remember them mentioning Wayne Rooney? They dropped Wayne Rooney's name for like 10 years, or 10 months. They dropped Zlatan's name for 10 months. But you can't get actual fighters to come on your show. You can't even get retired footballers to come and, you know, do their best. So what? If KSI signs to fight Wayne Rooney, he'll talk about the time Wayne Rooney was with some prostitutes. Is that what you think Wayne Rooney will sign up to Misfits for? So you have somebody who is prostitutes. Where is it? So this is the first thing KSI would mention if he gets a fight with Wayne Rooney. He will say, yeah, prostitute threesome. And then the fight is cancelled. Nobody wants Misfits. Trust me. Nobody cares. They just know that KSI is supposed to fight Jake Paul on Misfits. That's why we want to see what Misfits is doing. But other than that, no one gives a shit.
Big name either in the boxing scene or in the MMA scene that come and have these massive events, then, you know, things can absolutely change. But as of right now, it stands that it's KSI or bust. Pause. And without him, I don't know how long this train goes on. And that's
a very good point. I say, at the very least, it's not going past 2020. It's not going past the end of the 5-year deal. That's the best case scenario, that this deal will not get renewed. The worst case scenario, it doesn't go past next year. Trust me. Because even if KSI saves or extends the lifespan of Misfits by somehow miraculously agreeing to fight Jake this year, fat chance, even if he does that, after KSI does fight Jake, what happens? It's done. He said it himself. After I fight Jake, it's done. He said that many times.
Bad thing to say because I don't want to see that. I want to see influencer boxing have that decade-long relevancy that Mams wants. I want, for his sake and, you know, for the growth of everything else and for you guys, the fans and the fighters that are going to do it, I want that. And I always have. And I don't know if that's ever gotten lost in translation because of little petty beefs here and there. But at the end of the day, I've always wanted this scene to succeed because as it goes, everybody else does. And I want...
Yeah. Wade does have the best of intentions. You can see that. He was very intentional when he started, the way he spoke about Jake, and you could tell he wasn't playing a character. Wade didn't come with an agenda. He just genuinely didn't like Jake Paul, and he made certain to make sure that you knew that. And it is his apparent disdain for Jake Paul that got Wade where he is. Can he deny that to my face? He can't. Wade can't deny that fact. And that is what got him on Misfits, because they're like, oh, who is this Wade guy? He's getting clout. They put him on Misfits 01. He interviews KSI because he's been insulting Jake. We have videos on this, guys. There's no problem. And now KSI has problems with Wade. The promotion is dying. As I established at the beginning of this very long video, I apologize. Wade forgot his role as the voice piece or the mouthpiece of people like us, who, when we speak, our voices are not as loud as his would be, in saying that KSI needs to take accountability for the failure of these fights to come together. He does. But he speaks equivocally, as we established, even in this video, and that inconsistency in his speech, in his ability to communicate, is what Misfits is able to hide behind. And, you know, they're able to hide behind these things, and KSI has a new narrative each time to extend his cowardice. Let's put it like that. Let's put it in those kind of terms. But I think the video doesn't even say much in the end when you think about it. But let's see how he concludes.
Want to continue covering it. I do enjoy the circus aspect of it to a degree, as long as, you know, we're doing safe fights and everything.
And come on, bro. Like, this is such a typical Wade thing. It's like, oh, I enjoy the circus unless it's safe. And it's like, what does that mean? Do you see that? Because he's always behind, oh, I hope it's safe. Oh, I'm more concerned about the safety. But why don't you just come out and say that Misfits tag is rubbish? Why can't you come out and say Fatal 4-Way Misfits is rubbish, or 2-on-1 is rubbish? He did say that, thank God. But those other ones, he did not say it in those unequivocal terms, which KSI called out, and correctly so, let's be honest.
Regulated. I like it. It's different. And I never wanted to be someone that pointed down on it and said, that's what you get, or haha, look at all the goof shows, because this is something that allowed me to have a platform. And I want to make sure, and I've tried to for so long, give back to it in a way that helps it grow or help sustain it. So it's an unfortunate situation. I can only say that. As far as its lifespan, I hate to say it, but it's true. The phrase I always bring you holds even truer now than maybe it ever has. I don't have those answers, but a lot like my set is under construction and things are about to change in a very big way, I think Misfits and influencer boxing and crossover boxing need to do the same. Because in the combat sports business, it's always been, whether it's a company or a champion and challenger, step up or step aside. Whether in the ring or outside of it, it is all.
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we get it. He doesn't have a position. He hasn't said anything like one way or the other, which is typical Wade. And it's typical Wade, so I mean, there's not much else to say on that. And we spent a much longer time than we should have. And I mean, I'm not one to criticize Wade for long videos, because this video will end up probably being around 40 minutes. But what he's saying, I think, could have been said in maybe 10 minutes, because he ended up not saying anything at all. Why? He is not forthright in speaking on what led to this point, which is KSI's, or should I say, Misfits ineptitude. He did not come out and say, yeah, Misfits is inept, that's why we're here. They're inept in not creating a new star after KSI. They're inept in not being consistent, like Wade said. They're inept in their lack of transparency. Because why would you, for example, why would you say KSI is fighting the winner of Till against Fury, and then Fury pulls out, and there is no consequence for Fury pulling out, and AT, Anthony Taylor, steps in to save the event? He doesn't even get any form of encouragement. That's AT. And AT turns around and says, yeah, I'm not fighting anymore, guys. I'm taking a long break, quote unquote. AT is one of the biggest stars on Misfits, and there was no reaction from Misfits when AT comes out and says, yeah, I'm not really participating in this anymore, guys. This guy, AT, was promised Anthony Taylor, I have to say his name before. Anthony Taylor was promised a pay-per-view main event with KSI. KSI pushed it out of it, did not reschedule, and he did not get that opportunity again. And he got knocked out by Darren Till, and there is nothing for him. So AT is gone. That's the closest thing to a star that they have. Nobody's even mentioning him. Nobody's mentioning him. And that's symptomatic of what Misfits is. It's just come, fill up a card, and fuck off. We don't care about you. Slim will tell you the same. Salt Papi will tell you the same. What I'm saying is clear for anyone to see if you just simply have a memory and apply it.
Always, if you get knocked down, you better get back up. Can Misfits do that? Can I finally finish what I've been working on for a very long time? I don't have those answers, but...
Yeah. Well played. Nice work, Mr. Wade. So, I mean, it's a 1 hour reaction on the 70-minute video. I need to work on that. But what I'll say is like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I hope, my prayer is that you guys see what I'm saying, in not just the problem with Misfits, but the problem with the coverage of Misfits. People are scared to say what the truth is, and that means that in the end, no one will care. No one cares anymore about Misfits, because look at all the excuses.
Before I can get in camp and fight him. For me, it's kind of like waiting for this pandemic to be over, but I'm actually waiting for this lockdown to be over so I can get back into training. So I know I have to
So music, pandemic, music.
pick one or the other. And right now I'm just picking music because that's what I can do. That's what I'm able to do. And then eventually, once the album is out, this
album.
year,
This is in front of the BBC. This is in front of the entire British public.
I'm fully sorted with everything. Then I can focus on boxing and really make sure I'm at space. Now, there's no rush.
There is no rush. There is no rush. Oh god, I'm repeating myself. Okay. I'm so sorry, guys. Like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Out.
After centuries of sleep, of nothingness, I have returned. Something comes back to me. I was great once. Feared. Yes. Once I was strong. Powerful beyond measure, beyond imagining. So weak now, must find blood.
The best guy at synthesizing this stuff, because he's just been hitting these things out of the park.